Hello guys, welcome back. Your friend to play here, and this is a long awaited video. I know that some of you requested this and I was trying to do it since last week. This has to do, I'm going to try to explain in the best possible way the custom setup that I have on PlayBox version 2 in regards to Retroarch configurations and where you can apply an easy way the custom overlays, the bezels, and where you can find, where you can see what we have and what I created. Because for PlayBox I just sit down and just created a whole bunch of new overlays from scratch. I wanted to have something different, and I cleaned up a lot of stuff, deleted things that I didn't want, just try to keep it as clean as possible in the overlays folder, the configs. And I'm going to show you where I have everything applied, because I wanted to have everything unified. I don't want to touch, as you know, since version 1, the main Retroarch CVG file, the main Retroarch core options file. I want everything to be on specific system config folder, and any changes to be done to be there, so only this thing will be affected, and just add only specific lines. And the way it's set up, so when you enable a core in the Retroarch setup and you install it, automatically the core options will be copied to that specific small file. So this way you can do any changes in there. And I have a PDF file that I got from the libretto docs and has all the information, the BIOS, extra information about the core options if they exist for a specific core, and explains each option that some of you maybe just want to experiment and do some things. So always, it's a good idea, if you're planning to do something extreme, make a backup or make sure you have the original IMG file there, so you can get these files, the CVG files, ready. Some of the original files or the updated files I have also in the postfix updates, so this will be overwritten to make sure that it has the correct settings, because from the initial release I've changed some things, I cleaned up some things the last couple days in regards to overlays. And because I added a lot of custom stuff, and my friend Rick had also applied for some systems per ROM bezels based on the bezel project. So with my custom they ended up being a little bit weird showing up on the screen, so all of this is fixed. And so let's get started to explain to you where you can find and where you can do things. So as you can see, I am in the Samba shares in PlayBox. So you can see all the shares that are created for PlayBox, the original 4 from RetroPie setup, and we have the extra, which is the track mode folder. We have the new saves unified folder that has all the saves in on PlayBox version 2. I have applied the new script version 2, which I've been talking with RPC, the developer, and I got the one, and I added even a removal. I did some other stuff so it can work exactly as I wanted on the PlayBox version 2. So we have the new, all the saves when you start a ROM. It won't be copied or created in the ROMs folder under that, so I like to be clean. So all of them that go into these unified saves, so all the systems here. And just to avoid confusion, you can get here even from the home directory that I created, Samba. So basically when you open it and you go to the RetroPie folder and you open it, you're going to see this folder called save, and this is the same unified. So just to have an extra step, and that was a request from I remember Gomer, and he thought it's a good idea, so I think so too. So it's, instead of trying to look around where the unified saves is, so you can find it right away now. Now we have the new one called the screenshots, and if you watched which I please ask you to watch the 6 videos that explaining the toolkit and what each option does. So when you create screenshots of your Pi, they go here, and the normal ones, as we said, the splash screens, and the last one, the themes. Now, another good thing I've done, in my opinion, to PlayBox is that the original RetroPie Vanilla has the themes controlled by root permissions. I've changed that, so the themes I wanted to be by Pi as owner and permissions, so it can be very easily, if you go to themes, you can copy paste any folder in here without extra permissions. So let's go and let's get started. So we'll go to the configs, and I'm gonna go to all, then we'll go to Retroarch, then we'll go to overlay, and this is from the bezel project, some game bezels for bezel project again. So these ones I wouldn't touch, just is created. One thing to know, when you apply the bezel project will affect the system retroarch.cpg file that I have. So always make sure you have the original, or before you apply, make a copy of the original one in the same folder, call it .bak. So once you apply the bezel project for that system, so you can go and overwrite the one that bezel project created with the one I had on PlayBox. So you can have the per game, for example, and have the custom bezel that we have on PlayBox. So now you can see this is the folder PlayBox that is under the overlays, and this is my new overlays, custom overlays that I created just for PlayBox version 2. You can see it's 185 files minus the one that is a txt file, and if you open it, so this file is updated just recently from the PlayBox setup. It has all the informations you need to know, and I'm going to explain now to you, and it has all the specific settings you need to add for a very particular overlay. For example, when we have the Amiga 1084 monitor, it has specific viewport width, height and positioning on the screen based on the 1080p resolution. And similar, I have an arcade cabinet, an Atomic Wave cabinet, Naomi cabinet. We're gonna see a couple of this. We have a monitor number 2, which is 4x3. That's why it's the 4-3 means. And the same thing is for the Atari monitor. You're gonna see in one of them Atari setups. Now we have a BL, meaning black. So I can add this later and update from the setup. Now we have the monitor X1, which is for the Sharp X1. Now we have the home cinema room 2 and 3, and we have Virtual Boy. We have the TV room 1, 2 and 3. We have a Vintage TV 2, Vintage TV 3, and then we have the handhelds, Atari Lynx, Atari Lynx full. When you see full and big, that means the full properly and 100% it will be, you can see in the overlay the full size of the handheld. The big means has a bigger screen, but you don't see the full thing. And Atari Lynx, when it's a plain name, probably is just even bigger screen and more options, so missing. So we're gonna go see the examples. We have Game Boy, we have Game Boy as Game Boy, same boy. That's another thing that I have applied, because this is being used from a specific core we have for Game Boy, and that's why you can see the color on games for Game Boy. And effects with the script in one of the tweaks that I have on the tweak sections. Now we have the Game Boy Advance, which is a bigger screen. We have the Game Boy Color, Neo Geo Pocket Color, Neo Geo Pocket, Game Gear Full, Game Gear Big, Full, and you can see the difference again. Game & Watch, the Swan Crystal, Wonder Swan Color, Wonder Swan, the main one, PSP Old Style and New Style. I'm using the new. We have the PSP Go or Minis. Then we have some Retroarch animated overlays, and this is not used, but I might use and show you how to do that. So basically it's an overlay, so when you press things you're gonna see that animates on the side of your overlay. It's like buttons that you press and you can see that they're moving. Now we have the NDS, the Vectrex monitor, and that's it. So all the information you need to add in these lines, you just copy this and you will put it on the Retroarch if it's in that system. So this is the file on the top, and you can find all the specific details that you need to have in here in one place. Now we have the CPG file corresponding to that bezel, and then we have the PNG, which is the actual screen. I'm gonna go and open all the PNGs so we can see what I've done. So basically you have 185 files minus the one, we have 184. So you can see 184 divided by 2, so we have 92 specific and specific overlays or bezels for the PlayBox version 2. So now let's start one by one. I'm going to open up the Amiga. So for some systems, basically, I think for the most of them, I have created this, let's say, generic overlays, and they have all based from the walls theme art as the theme I created. So I used this and created these generic ones, and you can see on it's like a big screen in the middle, and you have the right and left some art. So I'm gonna go next. We have the custom Amiga 1084 monitor. This is the custom monitor that I have applied for the Amiga. You see the manual of the Amiga 500 on the side. I love this image that I found, and I just did some cleaning up, some changes. So basically like sitting in front of your monitor in your home and your Amiga. So we have the generic of Amiga 1200, we have the Amiga AGA. So one of the settings I have a PlayBox version 2 is that on my first regions with the PlayBox, I wanted to have a specific setup with the Amiga AGA, or instead of the Amiga 1200 to have the Amiga 4000 model and configuration. So that's why you see this Amiga AGA. Now we have the Amiga CD32 generic Amstrad CPC, and as you can see the names, I have the names that there are in the ROMs folder, because it will be easier for you to remember if you know the folder. It's very easy to go in the Retroarch CPG file, and then if you want to have a generic one, all you need to do is just remember the folder name, in our case for example Amstrad CPC, and then you're going to see where this goes and you understand what I'm talking about. No, so now let's see just the generic and custom overlays or bezels. So we have the arcade generic. This is the arcade cabinet that I was talking about. This can be applied for the arcades or the FBA and MAME arcades, stuff like that. So basically you have this part of the screen like if you were in a real arcade. So if you have a big screen, it looks pretty good because you have this wooden side, you have the glass cabinet and bezel, and a couple, you see right and left, other arcades. So it feels like more like a real arcade. Now we have the Atari monitor that I have on some, I think like Atari ST applied. We have the generic Atari 800, Atari 2600 generic, generic 5200, generic 7800, Atari Jaguar generic. Now we have the links. So this is the links that you see most of the buttons of the handheld. Then we have the big one that I was talking about. That's a bigger screen. You see only the 6 buttons right and left side of the screen. And we have the full one, which is the full handheld. On a big screen it looks fine. For some people they might think it might be too small. You can change that. You can select basically any of the 3 handheld overlays that you want. So we're gonna go, then we have Atomic Wave generic, we have the C64 generic, we have Commodore 1084. This is applied to the C64, and you can see even I changed the wording on the book. Instead of Amiga 500, now it says Commodore Operation Manual. So it's nice to have a nice Commodore monitor for your C64. I'm sure if you started the core, you probably have seen because it was already applied. We have Dreamcast generic, we have Famicom generic, FDS generic, we have the Game & Watch, we have the Game Gear big, and we have the Game Gear small, we have the Game Boy, and let me open up and start from there. Now this is the Game Boy, same boy, because of the actual core has already an integrated bezel for the Game Boy, so I just needed only right hand side of it. So that's why you see this difference between this and that. So we have the generic GBA, we have the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, we have the Game Boy, I call it HD Color. That's because it's generic. So I don't know if I'm going to rename this Dash HD to another, but you can see once you open it, you can see what it is. Now we have the Genesis generic for Mega Drive, we have the Home Cinema 1, we have Cinema 2, and the Home Cinema 3, we have the Lutro generic, we have the Master System generic, Mega 32X, Mega CD, we have the Mega Drive generic, Mega Drive Japan, the Moto or the Thomson, we have the MSX, MSX2, MSX2 Plus, and MSX Turbo R. We have the NDS. We have the Neo Geo CD generic. So NES generic. We have the Neo Geo Pocket, Neo Geo Pocket Color. Now this is the generic PlayBox. I call it brick. It has some brick background on the back. It's not very visible, so I don't want to attract your eye that much. Now have the generic most common PlayBox. We have the PlayBox metal, it's a metal seat on the side. We have a leather kind of sofa style, and then we have the vertical classic one. We have a wooden one, PlayBox generic. Then we have the PC or DOS. Then we have the PC monitor bezel, like if you're playing in your own PC. Now we have the PC monitor black. We have a PC monitor 4x3, as I said, a white one. The second one is used for the Atari, but it has the Atari logo as I fixed. The PC Engine generic, PC Engine CD generic, PSP Go or Minis. Now we have the PSP new one, and you can see that's the old model. So all of these you can set. I have the settings in that file that I talked about. Now we have the PSX generic. We have the ScanVM generic. If you use the LR core, I'm not using because we have a set with Rick, the standalone emulator. Now we have the generic Sega 32, Sega CD. We have the Super Famicom. We have the SG-1000. We have the Super Game Boy. We have the SNES. We have the Swan Crystal. We have the generic TG16, TG16 CD. Then we have the TV Room 2, TV Room 3. We have a vintage TV, which is the first one. This is the second one with 4x3, and then another one, TV Vintage 3. Now we have the Vectrex, which I left because Rick found some really nice and applied Perl ROM that has this kind of It was made back then like a plastic can overlay on the top of the screen, so it gave some fake coloring, so it looks very nice. So this is just let's say a generic one in case you apply. This is the generic Virtual Boy. They want a swan, they want a swan color. Now we have for the Sharp X1, now we have the X68000 generic, we have the ZX Spectrum generic one, and back to the Amiga. So that's all the overlays that I created for you guys, and as I said, it's inside this folder or path: Playbox, configs, all Retroarch, overlay, and Playbox. So let's go now to configs. And let's go to Amiga, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to open up this Retroarch CPG file, and I'm going to try to explain a few things here. So this structure that you see in this file, this is existing in all Retroarch CPG files under the systems here inside these folders, Playbox, configs. The same path, if you go from the WinSCP, is the /opt/retropie/configs, and you get to the same point. I found it very easy, and I think it's easy for you if you just use the Samba. So once your Playbox is on the network, you can find it very easy and apply it there. So as you can see, I have specific numbering that I have these lines, and so number line 5 is the input overlay enabled to true. So that means that allows and overrides the Retroarch CPG, and I say that I want to enable the overlays. We have a second line that tells, bases the line 5, number 6 line says that which overlay you want to have. So it has the full path pointing to the Playbox folder that we talked before, and it points to this Amiga 1084 monitor.cvg. So the only thing you need to do is just change here, and let's say put Amiga and save it, and that's it. That's all you need to change. If you want to put another this is the generic one, and I'm gonna go and see some examples on other system handheld, so you can see what I'm talking. We're gonna play around, and I'm gonna show you some examples for the arcade, how it looks with non-bezel applied per ROM, if you want to have the arcade cabinet, or if you want to have back to the per game. I think for the arcades worth having the per ROM. If you want to have a different experience, as I said, you're going to have this arcade cabinet on the big screen, would look nice, and you can just change it, and then all you need is just display the per ROM bezels from Bezel Project. Now, if you want to disable any of these, if you watch the Twix script toolkit, you're going to see that I have a script that applies and disables or enables all overlays. You need this to be without the comment, because if you put a comment in front of the line, it means that you just disable it, you comment out. So this thing, you need these two lines, and then you just apply the correct path to the CPG you want here. And the video smooth, this thing you don't have to touch from here, you can do it manually or you can do it from the Twix. This should work either way. So this is this bilinear smoothing effect that you got, usually when you have a shader and a video smooth, you don't need both, you just need one of the two, it's fine. So if you have a very pixelated old emulator, if you enable this like that, then it will just smoothen up everything. So this is what this line number 9 is. Now on lines 13, 14, 16, 15, 16, 17, this is the 5 lines that I said you just replace when you have a very custom overlay. In our case, I'm gonna go back. As you can see, I have the Amiga 1084 monitor. So the Amiga 1084 monitor, because it's not the generic one of Amiga and has a very specific portion of the screen that should display the screen of the core, or when you start the ROM, it needs specific let's say details applied. So we have what is the viewport, the actual size of the window that you display the game when it's running. So it's the width, the height, and then we have the positioning X and Y axis on what pixels. These pixels that you see, this number is just like pixels positioning on the screen. So this is another thing that I will just explain another day. But if you have a program like Photoshop and you use the magic wand and you select, let's say, from that overlay the portion of the screen that you want something to be displayed, you select it and you do, let's say, copy paste, for example, of that selection, automatically you see on the right side, you will see this information, this 4 exact information that you need. And that's what you get. This is the fastest and easiest way I can show to you in the future how you can create your own custom overlays if you wish. So you need these 4 lines with the specific numbering of pixels. So this is, as I said, for the Amiga 1084, and I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna go back, and let's go to the Atari. Let's go to, actually, let's see the arcade. So I'm gonna open up again the Retroarch CPG, and you can see again we have the lines 13 to 17, and you see I have the pound sign in front of them. This is disabled because I didn't want this arcade cabinet to affect, because if you forget, and you see if you forget to put the pound sign on this specific, if in case at some time you enter a specific overlay, if they don't have the pound sign and you have, let's say, bezel project, these 4 lines will override the display. So basically it won't show to the whole screen as it was supposed to be done by the actual core, but it will just force the screen to be shown only in this specific part of the screen. So if these things is not commented out, you're gonna see weird, or it could be your game strength there, because these specific settings affect this specific overlay, the arcade cabinet. I hope I'm not confusing you, but I'm just trying to explain, like, how the structure is, and once I do the actual examples, it will probably make more sense. It's very good to use the Notepad++. It's very helpful. And the other thing I want to say here, and number 11, you're going to see that we have this core options path that tells actually the core that don't look in the main core options file, but just look in the one existing inside the RetroPie configs arcade system Retroarch core options CPG file. And as you can see, it's here. And this is what I was talking about. You have the libretto docs explaining all the core options on different MAME 2010, 3 and 3 plus, and it has a TXT file that has all options and explaining what the core can be you can do to this core. And if I open up that, you can see it's already preset and it will be populated. It supports the MAME current, the MAME 2003. Anything you use as a core, it will just automatically update. You don't have to worry about it. And this is where you set custom options. For example, in my case, on this one, where is this? I think it's about the BIOS. Let me find it. There you are. So FB Neo Geo mode, for the Neo Geo arcades, I prefer to have the UniBIOS applied, which is, I have one of the latest ones in here, and the free one, and you can use it. And I prefer it instead of, as I said, touching the actual options. So let's get out. For those of you who don't understand what I'm saying on this specific, it's not for everybody. Some stuff, if you're an advanced user, you probably understand what I'm talking about. And for the other users, I'd like you not get stressed. Don't worry about it. The only you need to know is just about the structure of this folder and what I said before. Don't change anything on the main files. Anything you need to do, you just apply here and keep, in simple words, the lines. The line structure as is. I have specific numbering, and it's for a purpose that I have some scripts need that. So don't delete or remove things like this down here, because this one tells where the save file, the unified is, and all of these are affected by scripts. So just keep the structure, and as I said, keep a copy of this file if you plan to change something, so you can revert back in case something goes wrong. So now that I explained the structure, I'm gonna go and see in another one. I'm gonna go to the Atari links. I'm gonna open the Retroarch, see if it's in. You can see we have the input overlay enabled to true. We have the input overlay path, which is pointing to the Atari links full. So I'm gonna change this to another one. And you can see by just changing this name here from the ones I have in the PlayBox folder, and you save it, next time you start a ROM, automatically you're going to see the new overlay. So we change the name, and excuse me, but you have to replace these 4 lines from the file that I show you, so they can match to the specific image that you apply here.